She lived in a small, dusty house at the edge of the town with her mother. Their home was simple, with old furniture and a tiny kitchen where her mother spent most of her day cleaning and cooking for others. The girl had grown up seeing her mother work tirelessly, never complaining, always making sure she had food to eat and clothes to wear. From a very young age, she understood the value of hard work and learned to take responsibility beyond her years. She helped her mother clean houses, wash dishes, and sometimes run small errands after school. Life was never easy, but it had its small moments of warmth, especially when her mother smiled at her. Despite the hardships, the girl carried a quiet dream. Music was her escape, her secret world where nothing else mattered. She had found an old keyboard at a market once, scratched and slightly out of tune, but it became her treasure. Every night, after finishing her chores and homework, she would sit before it, her fingers moving over the keys as if they were alive. She played songs she had heard on the radio, melodies from old piano lessons she had taken in town for a short while, and even pieces she created from her heart. The notes filled the tiny house and seemed to make the old walls hum with a warmth that had nothing to do with money or comfort. School was another story. There, she felt the sting of the world's cruelty. Children from wealthier families laughed at her worn clothes and messy hair. Teachers often overlooked her, assuming she had no potential because she came from a maid's household. She sat quietly in class, head down, wishing she could disappear. The mocking words of classmates echoed in her ears long after she left the school gates. "Why would she even try?" they would whisper. "She's just a maid's daughter." But when she thought about her mother, she felt a spark of courage. Her mother had always encouraged her in small ways. Sometimes, she would leave a piece of candy on the table with a note that said, "Keep playing, my little musician." Other times, she would hum along when the girl practiced, clapping softly when she finished a song. Those small gestures were like fuel for her heart, reminding her that even if the world didn't see her worth, someone she loved did. The girl often imagined a different life. She pictured a world where she could play music freely, where people listened with awe instead of scorn, where her talent mattered more than her background. She imagined playing for her mother in a grand hall, her mother sitting in the front row with tears in her eyes. The thought made her fingers move faster across the keys even in her small room, as if she could bring that dream closer with every note. One afternoon, she was walking home from school when she passed the town square. A small group had gathered for a local event. A few children from her school were performing, playing instruments she recognized. The crowd clapped politely, some laughed, and others looked bored. She paused at the edge of the square, hidden behind a pillar, listening. Her heart ached with longing. She wished she could play too, but the fear of being laughed at kept her frozen. The words of her classmates ran through her mind again, mocking her before she could even try. At home, she poured all those feelings into her music. That night, she played a song she had been practicing for weeks. It was a difficult piece, full of fast runs and gentle melodies. Her fingers stumbled at first, but she kept going, refusing to stop. She imagined the notes floating up into the night sky, reaching her mother, letting her know that she was trying, that she wanted to bring beauty into their small, quiet lives. When the song ended, she looked at her mother's worn hands and felt a surge of love and determination. She wanted to be more than a maid's daughter. She wanted to show the world that she could create something extraordinary. Days passed in the same routine. School was harsh, home was quiet but safe, and music was the one thing that belonged to her alone. She saved every small coin she could, sometimes giving up small treats just to buy sheet music or small improvements for her old keyboard. Every note she played was a step toward a dream she dared not speak aloud. It was her secret strength, the one thing that gave her life color when the rest of the world seemed gray. One afternoon, a neighbor heard the music drifting through the thin walls of her home. She paused outside the door, listening. The notes were so beautiful and precise that it caught her completely off guard. She had never imagined that such talent could exist in a place so humble. When the girl noticed her standing there, she froze, embarrassed and afraid of being mocked. But instead of laughing, the neighbor smiled and said softly, You play beautifully. You should never stop." Those words lingered in her mind, a rare moment of encouragement that she held onto tightly. Despite these small moments of hope, the girl remained cautious. She knew that showing her talent openly could invite ridicule. She watched how the other children laughed at small mistakes, how even teachers underestimated some students. She learned to hide her gift, letting it shine only in the safety of her home, for her mother, and in secret for herself. Yet, she also understood that this hidden music was not just a pastime. It was a seed of something bigger, something that could change how she saw herself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm colors across the small town, she sat at her keyboard with a determination she had never felt before. She whispered to herself, "One day, I will play for more than just myself. One day they will see." The words were soft but firm, a promise made in the quiet of her heart. She practiced until her fingers ached, her mother humming quietly beside her, a silent but powerful cheerleader. The music filled the small house with a feeling of hope, a quiet rebellion against a world that often underestimated her. The girl knew the road ahead would be difficult. The mockery at school would not stop, and opportunities would be scarce. But she had discovered something that could never be taken away: her music. It was a part of her, a language through which she could express joy, sorrow, hope, and love. Every key she pressed was a statement that she mattered, that her dreams were valid, and that her background did not define her abilities. As she lay down that night, exhausted but fulfilled, she thought about her mother sleeping in the next room, dreaming perhaps of better days. She smiled softly, knowing that one day, she would play for her mother in a way that made the world pause and listen. Until then, she would keep practicing, keep dreaming, and keep believing in the music inside her. The first spark of a journey had begun, quiet but powerful, and nothing, not laughter, not mockery, not doubt, could extinguish it. School was always a place where the girl felt small and unseen. She walked through the hallways with her books pressed against her chest, trying not to draw attention. But the other children noticed her worn clothes and quiet demeanor. Whispers followed her wherever she went, sometimes sharp, sometimes cruel. "Why does she even try?" they would say. "She's just a maid's daughter." Their laughter echoed in her ears as she made her way to her classes. Each day was a test of endurance, and she often wished she could disappear. Despite this, she remained diligent in her studies. She knew that knowledge could be a tool to escape the limitations imposed by others. But even her intelligence did not shield her from ridicule. During lunch, she would sit alone in a corner, watching groups of children chat and laugh. Sometimes she wished she could join them, but the fear of being mocked kept her isolated. She felt the sting of being invisible, not because she lacked talent, but because the world valued wealth and appearance over skill and heart. One day, the school announced a small recital for students to showcase their talents. Excitement buzzed through the air as children began practicing songs, dances, and other performances. The girl's heart leapt at the idea, but hesitation gripped her. She thought about the laughter, the sneers, the mocking voices that would surely greet her if she dared to step onto the stage. Yet, the thought of playing a piece for her mother kept her rooted in the decision. She wanted, more than anything, to make her mother proud. At home, she began practicing secretly, determined to perfect her song. Her fingers moved swiftly across the keyboard, notes flowing effortlessly as if the instrument itself understood her emotions. The melody was both gentle and strong, capturing the essence of her quiet courage. Her mother watched from the doorway, a soft smile playing on her lips. She knew her daughter's talent, though the world outside did not. Every evening, she would clap softly when the song ended, a small but powerful encouragement. Meanwhile, news of the recital spread through the school, and whispers about her participation began. Some children laughed outright. "She thinks she can play piano? She's a maid's daughter," they sneered. Teachers were polite but skeptical, offering little encouragement. The girl felt the weight of their doubt pressing on her shoulders, but she refused to give in. She focused on the music, allowing it to drown out the voices of mockery. As the recital day approached, the tension in the school grew. Children practiced loudly in the halls, showing off their talents and teasing those they deemed weaker. The girl walked past them, head held low, clutching her sheet music. Inside, a fire burned quietly. She knew that her performance was not about proving them wrong, but about expressing herself and honoring her mother. She wanted the music to speak for her, to tell a story her words could not. On the day of the recital, the hall was filled with students, parents, and teachers. The air was thick with anticipation, excitement, and, for some, skepticism. She waited backstage, listening to the applause for other performers. Her heart pounded as she peeked through the curtain. The faces in the audience seemed larger than life, and the thought of stepping in front of them made her hands tremble. Yet, she remembered her mother's gentle encouragement, her unwavering belief in her talent. That memory strengthened her resolve. When it was her turn, she took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, a mix of curiosity and disbelief. She approached the keyboard, the familiar weight of the keys comforting her. As she began to play, the notes floated through the hall, soft at first, then gaining strength and clarity. The melody was beautiful, each note carefully crafted, each phrase filled with emotion. The audience fell silent, caught off guard by the skill and passion in her playing. The children who had mocked her sat frozen, their laughter replaced by astonishment. Teachers exchanged surprised glances, realizing that the girl they had underestimated possessed extraordinary talent. Even the parents, some skeptical, could not hide their admiration. Her music filled the hall, carrying a story of struggle, determination, and love. It was a story that transcended social status and background, touching everyone who listened. As she played, her eyes occasionally met her mother's in the front row. Tears filled her mother's eyes, pride shining through every expression. In that moment, the girl understood why she had practiced so tirelessly, why she had endured the whispers and laughter. The music was a gift, a bridge between her world and her mother's, a way to communicate love and gratitude without words. Every key she pressed was a message, a silent declaration that her talent and heart were not defined by where she came from. When the final note lingered in the air and faded, the hall erupted in applause. The sound was overwhelming, a mix of admiration, surprise, and genuine appreciation. Children who had mocked her could only stare, unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Teachers nodded, acknowledging the depth of her talent. The girl felt a surge of relief and joy, a feeling she had never experienced so fully before. She had faced the fear, the ridicule, and the doubt, and had emerged victorious through her music. After the recital, people approached her with compliments and words of encouragement. Some were hesitant, unsure if they should acknowledge her talent after their previous doubt. Others were genuine, expressing awe at the skill and emotion in her performance. The girl listened politely, her heart swelling with pride, but her focus remained on her mother. She wanted her mother to know that she had done this not for recognition or approval, but for the person who had always believed in her. That night, back at home, she sat at her keyboard once more. The room was quiet, the only sound being the soft hum of the keys as she practiced a new piece. Her mother sat beside her, hands clasped, watching with pride and affection. They did not need to speak much. The music itself conveyed everything. The girl felt a sense of accomplishment, a quiet confidence that had been absent before. She realized that her talent was not just a secret escape, but a powerful tool to express her heart and resilience. The girl understood that the world outside would not always be kind, that mockery and doubt were part of life. But she had discovered a strength within herself, a determination that could not be shaken by words or laughter. The recital was only the beginning, a small victory in a much larger journey. She knew there would be challenges ahead, moments when she would question her worth, times when the whispers of others might pierce her confidence. Yet, she also knew that her music was her shield and her voice, a force that could convey more than words ever could. In the following days, she noticed a change in the way some classmates treated her. Some were still hesitant, unsure how to reconcile the girl they had mocked with the extraordinary pianist they had witnessed. Others approached her with curiosity, asking questions about her music and techniques. She responded politely, never letting pride overshadow her humility. She understood that her journey was not about proving people wrong, but about remaining true to herself and her passion. Her mother continued to be her greatest supporter. Every evening, they would sit together in the small house, the girl practicing new pieces, her mother listening and offering quiet encouragement. These moments became sacred, a reminder that love and belief could flourish even in the smallest, humblest of spaces. The girl began to see that her music was not just a personal escape but a bridge that connected her dreams with the reality of her life. Through the experience of mockery and eventual recognition, the girl learned valuable lessons. She realized that talent and dedication could shine even in the face of doubt, that persistence was more powerful than ridicule, and that the love and support of those who truly cared mattered more than the opinions of others. These lessons became the foundation for her future, shaping her into someone who would face challenges with courage and grace. As she lay down to sleep each night, her thoughts were filled with music and dreams of what could be. She imagined future performances, moments of triumph, and the joy of sharing her gift with the world. The memory of being mocked no longer held power over her. It had been transformed into motivation, a reminder of how far she had come and what she could achieve. The girl knew that her journey had only just begun, and with each note she played, she took another step toward a future where her talent could shine without fear or hesitation. A week after the school recital, a new announcement spread through the town. There would be a local music competition held at the community center, open to all students. The prize was small, a trophy, a certificate, and recognition, but for the girl it represented something much larger. It was a chance to step beyond the walls of her home, beyond the small stage of the school, and show her music to a wider audience. She hesitated at first. The thought of standing before strangers, of being judged and possibly mocked again, made her stomach twist. But the desire to play for her mother, to honor the sacrifices she had made, outweighed her fear. Her mother noticed her quiet contemplation. She placed a hand on the girl's shoulder and said softly, "If you want to do this, I will be right here with you. Remember, you are not just playing for them. You are playing for your heart." Those words sank deeply, comforting and encouraging her. She realized that this opportunity was not about proving anyone wrong, but about embracing her own courage and expressing herself. She nodded, determination shining in her eyes. At home, she began practicing even more intensely. She chose a complex piece that challenged her abilities, one she had admired for a long time but had never dared to attempt fully. Each day, she worked on small sections, perfecting each note and phrase. She learned to control her tempo, her dynamics, and her expression. Sometimes her fingers would ache, sometimes her eyes would burn from concentration, but she refused to give up. Her music became a reflection of her dedication, a story told through the language of sound. Meanwhile, whispers spread at school about the upcoming competition. Some students laughed, assuming she would fail as before. "She thinks she can win? A maid's daughter? Impossible," they said. Others were curious, having seen her performance at the recital, but hesitation and doubt still lingered. Teachers encouraged students in general, but few gave her specific attention. It was clear that the world expected her to be limited by her background. The girl, however, quietly smiled to herself. She did not need their approval. Her music and her mother's pride were enough. As the day of the competition approached, nerves and anticipation intertwined. The girl meticulously prepared her sheet music, organized her outfit, and rehearsed her piece repeatedly. She even imagined the community center filled with listeners, each note reaching their hearts. Every evening, her mother sat nearby, sometimes humming along, sometimes simply watching in awe as her daughter's talent blossomed. The mother's presence was a steady source of strength, a reminder that love and belief mattered more than judgment or scorn. When the competition day arrived, the girl entered the community center, her heart pounding. The hall was larger than she had imagined, filled with students, parents, and judges. Some faces looked familiar, some were strangers, and all eyes seemed to search for weaknesses. She felt the weight of expectation and the shadows of past mockery, but she also felt a quiet strength growing inside her. She reminded herself that her music was hers, a gift that could not be diminished by anyone else's doubt. One by one, students performed. Some were skilled, others less so, but each drew applause from the audience. The girl waited backstage, her fingers brushing lightly over the keys of her keyboard, as if testing her courage. When her turn came, she took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The bright lights made her squint, and the murmur of the audience made her stomach flutter, but she focused on her purpose. She looked briefly toward her mother, who smiled and nodded, and that small gesture steadied her more than anything. She sat at the keyboard and placed her hands over the keys. The hall was silent now, waiting for the first note. When she pressed it, a soft, clear sound filled the room, and a wave of calm washed over her. As she continued, the music grew, intricate and expressive, filled with passion and precision. Each note told a story of struggle and hope, of quiet determination and love for her mother. The audience sat entranced, drawn into the world she created through her talent. A week after the school recital, a new announcement spread through the town. There would be a local music competition held at the community center, open to all students. The prize was small, a trophy, a certificate, and recognition, but for the girl it represented something much larger. It was a chance to step beyond the walls of her home, beyond the small stage of the school, and show her music to a wider audience. She hesitated at first. The thought of standing before strangers, of being judged and possibly mocked again, made her stomach twist. But the desire to play for her mother, to honor the sacrifices she had made, outweighed her fear. Her mother noticed her quiet contemplation. She placed a hand on the girl's shoulder and said softly, "If you want to do this, I will be right here with you. Remember, you are not just playing for them. You are playing for your heart." Those words sank deeply, comforting and encouraging her. She realized that this opportunity was not about proving anyone wrong, but about embracing her own courage and expressing herself. She nodded, determination shining in her eyes. At home, she began practicing even more intensely. She chose a complex piece that challenged her abilities, one she had admired for a long time but had never dared to attempt fully. Each day, she worked on small sections, perfecting each note and phrase. She learned to control her tempo, her dynamics, and her expression. Sometimes her fingers would ache, sometimes her eyes would burn from concentration, but she refused to give up. Her music became a reflection of her dedication, a story told through the language of sound. Meanwhile, whispers spread at school about the upcoming competition. Some students laughed, assuming she would fail as before. "She thinks she can win? A maid's daughter? Impossible," they said. Others were curious, having seen her performance at the recital, but hesitation and doubt still lingered. Teachers encouraged students in general, but few gave her specific attention. It was clear that the world expected her to be limited by her background. The girl, however, quietly smiled to herself. She did not need their approval. Her music and her mother's pride were enough. As the day of the competition approached, nerves and anticipation intertwined. The girl meticulously prepared her sheet music, organized her outfit, and rehearsed her piece repeatedly. She even imagined the community center filled with listeners, each note reaching their hearts. Every evening, her mother sat nearby, sometimes humming along, sometimes simply watching in awe as her daughter's talent blossomed. The mother's presence was a steady source of strength, a reminder that love and belief mattered more than judgment or scorn. When the competition day arrived, the girl entered the community center, her heart pounding. The hall was larger than she had imagined, filled with students, parents, and judges. Some faces looked familiar, some were strangers, and all eyes seemed to search for weaknesses. She felt the weight of expectation and the shadows of past mockery, but she also felt a quiet strength growing inside her. She reminded herself that her music was hers, a gift that could not be diminished by anyone else's doubt. One by one, students performed. Some were skilled, others less so, but each drew applause from the audience. The girl waited backstage, her fingers brushing lightly over the keys of her keyboard, as if testing her courage. When her turn came, she took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The bright lights made her squint, and the murmur of the audience made her stomach flutter, but she focused on her purpose. She looked briefly toward her mother, who smiled and nodded, and that small gesture steadied her more than anything. She sat at the keyboard and placed her hands over the keys. The hall was silent now, waiting for the first note. When she pressed it, a soft, clear sound filled the room, and a wave of calm washed over her. As she continued, the music grew, intricate and expressive, filled with passion and precision. Each note told a story of struggle and hope, of quiet determination and love for her mother. The audience sat entranced, drawn into the world she created through her talent. Some of the students who had mocked her before sat with widened eyes, unable to believe what they were hearing. Teachers whispered among themselves, acknowledging the skill that had previously gone unnoticed. Even the judges leaned forward, captivated by the depth and emotion of her performance. The girl's fingers moved like a river, flowing effortlessly, carrying the melody through highs and lows, through moments of tension and release. She had transformed fear into expression, doubt into power, and the room responded, though quietly, in awe. As the piece reached its final crescendo, the girl's heart swelled. She could see her mother in the front row, tears glistening in her eyes, pride radiating from every gesture. In that moment, she realized that this performance was not about competition or recognition. It was about connection, about expressing something pure and true. The last note lingered in the air, a delicate echo that seemed to capture all her emotions. The audience held their breath for a moment, and then applause erupted, filling the hall with sound. It was overwhelming, affirming, and deeply moving. After the performance, students and parents approached her with admiration. Many admitted they had doubted her, yet they could not ignore the truth of her talent. Some were curious, asking how she had learned to play so well. Others offered compliments, hesitant but genuine. The girl smiled politely, acknowledging them without pride, her focus still on her mother, who had been her guiding light through every challenge. Her mother's eyes sparkled with joy and love, and in that moment, the girl felt an unspoken bond of accomplishment, a shared victory for both of them. The judges conferred quietly, noting the technical skill, expression, and emotional depth of her performance. When the results were announced, the girl had won first place. The recognition was rewarding, but more importantly, it validated the countless hours of practice, the perseverance through ridicule, and the quiet faith that had guided her. She held the trophy with a sense of pride and humility, knowing that this achievement was just a step in her journey, not the end. Back at home that evening, the girl and her mother celebrated quietly. They did not need grandeur or crowds. The simple joy of accomplishment was enough. They spoke little, letting the music of the evening and the shared emotions convey what words could not. The girl practiced a new piece that night, her fingers dancing over the keys with renewed confidence. She realized that her journey was ongoing, that challenges would continue, but she was now better equipped to face them with courage and determination. In the following weeks, the girl noticed a subtle change in how others treated her. Some classmates were more respectful, though hesitant, recognizing the skill they had once doubted. Teachers acknowledged her effort and encouraged her further. The girl understood that she could not control the opinions of others, but she could control her dedication, her attitude, and her love for music. Each performance, each note, was a testament to her growth and resilience. Her mother remained her greatest support. Every evening, they would sit together, the girl practicing, her mother listening and encouraging. Those moments became a sanctuary, a place where dreams were nurtured and confidence was strengthened. The girl realized that her music was no longer just a private escape. It had become a force that connected her to others, built bridges of understanding, and expressed emotions that could not be spoken. Through the experience of entering and winning the local competition, the girl learned important lessons. She discovered that courage often meant stepping into the unknown, that dedication and practice could overcome fear, and that recognition, while rewarding, was not the ultimate goal. The true reward lay in the expression of her heart and the joy of sharing her gift with those she loved. These lessons became part of her character, shaping the person she was becoming. As she lay down to sleep each night, her thoughts were filled with music, dreams, and possibilities. She imagined future performances, places she had yet to see, and people who would hear her music. She understood that her journey was long and that each step, each performance, each challenge would shape her future. Yet she felt confident, strong, and ready to embrace whatever came next. The girl had discovered not only her talent but also her courage, resilience, and the power of love and support, knowing that her mother would always be her guiding light. The girl's victory at the local competition brought her confidence, but it also attracted attention she had never expected. People in town began to talk about the maid's daughter, who could play the piano beautifully. Some were curious, some were skeptical, but most were intrigued. Invitations to play at small gatherings, local events, and school functions started to appear. She felt a mix of excitement and nervousness, unsure how to step into this new world where her music was now visible to many. Her mother, as always, offered gentle guidance. Take each opportunity as it comes, and remember why you play. Do it for your heart and for the joy it brings. Those words resonated deeply, reminding her to remain grounded, humble, and true to herself. The girl realized that talent alone was not enough. She had to navigate attention, expectations, and sometimes even jealousy with grace. One day, a prominent music teacher from the city visited their town. He had heard rumors about a young girl with exceptional skill and wanted to see for himself. The news spread quickly, and soon the girl was invited to perform at a small recital attended by the teacher, parents, and community members. The anticipation was heavy, and some classmates watched with curiosity while others quietly mocked, unable to imagine her talent in a formal setting. Back at home, she practiced harder than ever. She chose a challenging piece that required precision, emotion, and control. Every day she worked on technique, expression, and the flow of the music. Her mother observed quietly, offering praise and encouragement whenever needed. The girl's dedication was unwavering. She knew that this performance could open doors she had never imagined, but it was also a chance to honor her mother's unwavering support. The recital day arrived, and the girl stepped onto the stage, her heart racing but steady. The audience waited, the air thick with anticipation. She looked at her mother in the front row, whose eyes shone with pride, and felt a sense of calm wash over her. She sat at the piano and pressed the first key. The sound was clear, pure, and strong, filling the room with a sense of awe. Her fingers danced over the keys, each note carrying a story of struggle, hope, and love. As she played, the audience was mesmerized. The teacher watched closely, noting her control, her precision, and the emotional depth she conveyed. The girl's performance was more than skill. It was a reflection of her soul, a voice that spoke of determination, resilience, and the quiet strength that had guided her through years of hardship. Even those who had doubted her could not help but be drawn into the music, captivated by the story it told. When the final note lingered in the air and faded, silence filled the room for a brief moment before applause erupted. The audience rose to their feet, clapping enthusiastically. Some of the children who had mocked her earlier were stunned, their expressions shifting from disbelief to admiration. Teachers and parents nodded in approval, impressed by the maturity and depth of her performance. The music teacher approached her with a smile, eyes wide with genuine respect. "You have exceptional talent," he said. "With guidance and practice you could go far. Never let anyone make you doubt yourself." The girl's heart swelled with pride, but it was tempered by humility. She bowed gracefully, acknowledging the applause, and then turned her gaze to her mother. Their eyes met, and in that silent moment, all the words and praise of the audience were unnecessary. Her mother's pride and joy were all that mattered. The girl understood that every challenge she had faced, every moment of ridicule, had led her to this point. It was not only a victory in music but also a triumph over doubt and adversity. After the recital, opportunities began to increase. A small newspaper featured her story, calling her the hidden talent of the town. Invitations to perform at charity events, school functions, and community gatherings poured in. Some offers were intimidating, some were humbling, and others were simply exciting. The girl approached each one with care, remembering her mother's advice. She knew she could not please everyone, but she could remain true to her music and herself. Not all responses were positive, however. Some classmates grew envious, whispering and making subtle jabs whenever she was mentioned. She heard some people question why she was given attention, why a maid's daughter could suddenly rise above her station. These moments stung, but she had learned to carry them lightly. Her focus was on her growth, her music, and the bond she shared with her mother. Negativity could not erase the hours of dedication, the nights of practice, or the quiet triumphs she had experienced. One evening, a wealthy family in town invited her to play at a private gathering. The girl felt nervous but also saw it as an opportunity to showcase her skills to people who could help her pursue a bigger stage. She practiced the piece meticulously, paying attention to every detail, ensuring that her expression and technique were flawless. Her mother watched, offering calm support and reassurance. Together, they prepared for an evening that could potentially change the trajectory of her life. The night of the gathering, she entered a grand home, vastly different from her modest house. Crystal chandeliers reflected light across polished floors, and the guests, dressed in elegant attire, looked on with polite curiosity. Some recognized her from the newspaper article, some had only heard rumors. She sat at the piano, took a deep breath, and let her music flow. The melody carried a quiet confidence, a blend of humility and strength, drawing every listener into her world. The notes were expressive, precise, and full of emotion, leaving the audience captivated and silent at first, then erupting in applause. Among the guests was a music agent who had been searching for young talent. He approached her after the performance, impressed by her skill and the maturity of her playing. "You have something extraordinary," he said. "With guidance and training, you could perform on much bigger stages. Have you considered pursuing music seriously?" The girl's heart raced. She had always dreamed of such opportunities but had never imagined they could arrive so soon. Her mother squeezed her hand, a silent affirmation that they would navigate this new world together. The evening ended with congratulations, warm smiles, and a renewed sense of purpose. The girl realized that her music could bridge worlds, connect people, and open doors that had seemed impossible. She had faced mockery, doubt, and social boundaries, yet her talent and determination had carried her beyond them. She understood that every note she played, every piece she mastered, was part of a journey that would continue to unfold. Back home, she and her mother discussed the possibilities, carefully considering each step. They knew that opportunities came with responsibilities and challenges, and that success required discipline, humility, and perseverance. The girl committed herself to her music, not for fame or recognition alone, but for the joy of playing, the connection it created, and the dreams she had nurtured for so long. The experience taught her important lessons about resilience, courage, and the power of love and support. She learned that even in the face of skepticism and mockery, her dedication and passion could shine brightly. She understood that talent was only part of the journey. Discipline, humility, and emotional connection were equally vital. These lessons would guide her as she prepared for the next stages of her musical journey. Night after night, she continued to practice, exploring new pieces, refining her technique, and experimenting with expression. Her mother remained her steadfast companion, offering encouragement, sharing in the joys of discovery, and providing comfort during moments of self-doubt. Together, they navigated the evolving landscape of recognition, opportunity, and expectation, building a foundation of trust, love, and shared purpose. Through this experience, the girl's confidence grew. She realized that mockery and doubt could not define her. Her music was her voice, her refuge, and her bridge to the world. Each performance, each note, was a statement of her resilience, talent, and the strength of the bond with her mother. She understood that while challenges would continue, she now possessed the courage and skill to face them, and the knowledge that her journey was just beginning, with endless possibilities ahead. The girl's journey had brought her far from the quiet, dusty house where she had grown up. The music she had nurtured in secret had now opened doors she had once only dreamed of. Invitations came from all around to perform at concerts, community events, and even city festivals. Yet, no matter how big the stage or how large the audience, she carried herself with humility, remembering the years of quiet practice in a small room and the unwavering support of her mother. One afternoon, she received an invitation to perform at a prestigious city recital. The excitement was overwhelming, but so was the pressure. This event would be attended by prominent music teachers, talent scouts, and an audience that had little patience for mistakes. Some whispers reminded her of past mockery and doubt, yet she focused on her purpose: to play for her mother, for herself, and for the music that had always been her companion. Her mother helped her pack, offering quiet encouragement. "Play with your heart, and everything else will follow," she said. These words anchored her as she prepared to step into a world far bigger than she had ever imagined. The day of the recital arrived, and the girl entered a grand hall filled with rows of elegant seats, crystal chandeliers, and people dressed in fine clothing. The environment was intimidating, but she felt a calm determination settle over her. She thought back to every moment of doubt, every instance of ridicule, and realized that those experiences had only strengthened her. Her talent, dedication, and love for music had carried her this far. She sat at the piano, took a deep breath, and let her fingers glide over the keys. The first notes were soft and hesitant, but soon they grew confident and clear. Each note carried emotion: joy, sorrow, hope, and determination. The audience was captivated, and for the first time, the girl understood the true power of music. It could transcend words, class, and expectation. Every gesture, every chord, told the story of her journey, of a young girl who had faced mockery and doubt, but refused to give up as the piece progressed. The audience was silent, completely absorbed by the music. Teachers and talent scouts watched with admiration, noting her technical skill and emotional depth. Even those who had doubted her abilities were left speechless, realizing that her talent was real and remarkable. She played with precision, expression, and heart, weaving a tapestry of sound that reflected years of dedication, struggle, and love. When the final note faded, the hall remained quiet for a moment, then erupted into applause. Standing ovations filled the room, and the girl felt a rush of emotion unlike anything she had experienced before. Tears welled in her eyes as she glanced at her mother, who sat proudly in the front row. The journey they had taken together, from a small, modest home to a grand stage, was a testament to perseverance, love, and belief. The girl realized that every challenge, every moment of ridicule, had been worth it to reach this point. After the recital, she was approached by music teachers, talent scouts, and event organizers. Offers to study under renowned instructors and perform on larger stages were presented. She listened politely, careful to remain humble, understanding that every opportunity was a step in a long journey. Her mother stood beside her, offering guidance and support, and together they weighed each possibility. The girl knew that talent alone was not enough. Dedication, discipline, and emotional balance would be key to navigating the path ahead. The recognition also brought a new kind of attention from her community. People who had once mocked her now expressed admiration and curiosity. Some classmates approached her, apologizing for past behavior and asking how she had achieved such skill. The girl responded with grace, never forgetting the times she had been underestimated. She understood that humility and kindness were as important as talent, and she used her experiences to teach others about resilience, patience, and the value of pursuing one's passions. Despite the growing recognition, the girl never lost sight of her roots. She continued to play for her mother at home, where the music first began. These private sessions were sacred, a reminder that her journey was not about fame or wealth but about connection, expression, and joy. Every note played for her mother was a gesture of gratitude, love, and acknowledgement of the sacrifices that had been made. The mother and daughter shared moments of quiet happiness, their bond deepened by the music that had always been their shared secret. The girl also began mentoring younger students in her community, especially those who felt overlooked or underestimated. She encouraged them to practice, to pursue their passions, and to believe in themselves regardless of others' opinions. Through this, she discovered a new sense of purpose. Her music could inspire and empower, offering hope to those who faced similar struggles. The joy of helping others grow in talent and confidence became another source of fulfillment and pride. Months passed, and the girl's reputation as a talented pianist continued to grow. Invitations came from larger cities, offering opportunities to perform in more prestigious venues. She traveled with her mother, performing in halls and auditoriums far beyond her small town. Each performance reinforced the lessons she had learned: resilience, humility, perseverance, and the power of love and support. She remained focused on her music, her dedication unwavering, and her heart always connected to the journey that had begun in a modest home. One evening, after a successful performance in a city far from home, the girl and her mother returned to their small house. The walls seemed smaller now, the rooms familiar and comforting. Sitting at her keyboard, she reflected on how far she had come. From secret practice sessions in a quiet room to performing on grand stages, the journey had been challenging, rewarding, and transformative. She understood that the true triumph was not in the applause or recognition, but in the growth, courage, and love that had carried her along the way. Her story became a source of inspiration not only for her community but for those who heard about her journey beyond the town. People admired her talent, perseverance, and the grace with which she navigated both opportunity and adversity. The girl had become a symbol of hope, proof that dreams nurtured with dedication and heart could overcome prejudice, doubt, and circumstance. Her music, once a private escape, had grown into a powerful expression of identity, resilience, and love. Years later, she continued to perform, teach, and inspire. Her mother remained by her side, a constant source of encouragement and love. The lessons learned through mockery, struggle, and triumph shaped her character and her approach to life. She understood that challenges would always exist, but with dedication, humility, and love, they could be met and transformed into growth and achievement. The girl's journey had started with a quiet desire to play for her mother, a simple act of love and expression. Through talent, perseverance, and unwavering support, that desire had blossomed into a life filled with music, opportunity, and inspiration. Her story was a reminder that no matter where one comes from, dreams could be realized, hearts could be touched, and lives could be changed. And through it all, she remained true to herself, her music, and the person who had always believed in her, the mother who had nurtured her dreams and given her the courage to shine.